What's going on, guys? Welcome to Amigos Code. My name is Nelson, and if you are new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe and also smash the like button so that the YouTube algorithm works out for my channel so I can get 100,000 subscribers this year, or actually more than 100,000. So in this course, I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of using your terminal as well as some bash commands. You see, I don't want you to make the exact same mistakes that I did when I started programming. So back in the days, university time, I was so scared of using the terminal. So this black screen right here, so I was really scared and afraid of using it because it just looks so intimidating, right? And most of us are used to using our computer by simply using the mouse. If you want to create a folder, you simply right click and create a folder. Copying files, everything is with your mouse, right? So in this course, we're going to learn how to use the terminal, right? So Linux is the most popular operating system out there. And the cool thing about it is that it's open source. So you are a software engineer or eventually will become one. And nowadays, everything is on the cloud, right? And pretty much all software that runs on the cloud runs on Linux, right? It might be a different flavor of Linux, but most of them are Linux. In fact, YouTube, right, runs on Linux. So in this course, I want to make sure that you understand exactly how to use the black screen, the terminal, and we're going to learn some useful commands that will help you to navigate around, because at some point in your career, you're going to have to SSH into a remote server in the cloud, right? And in there, you're not going to have any fancy text editor such as VS Code. Everything will have to be done on your terminal. So in this course, I'm also going to teach you pretty much one of the, or actually not pretty much, is the best text editor for Linux, right? And that is Vim. Yes, Vim. I know a lot of people are scared of using Vim and they say, why use Vim? But trust me, Vim is awesome. And as I said, when you SSH into a remote server, you're not going to have any fancy text editor. The only thing that you will have is Vim. So knowing how to create files, saving, navigating around, searching, finding and replacing, it's a vital skill that you should have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and learn how to use the terminal, black screen, command line, Iterm, and pretty much whatever you want to call it. Join me inside. All right, so first and foremost, I want to thank you so much for being part of Amigos Code and taking the initiative of learning how to use your terminal, right? How to use the terminal as well as some bash commands, right? So I always tell this to my students, and that is, if you are taking this course seriously, go ahead and practice, because I want to add value, right? I want to make sure that you come out of this course knowing something, and I want you to put whatever you've learned in this course on your CV, right? So I want you to actually learn from this course. If you haven't joined the private Facebook group, go ahead and join, because the group is full of students just like you, ready to learn, and we bounce ideas all the time, right? So if you have any questions, you can throw them on a group and we're going to be there to help you. And also you can help someone else. This is all for now. Let's kick off this course. So if you are a Windows user, I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video so that you learn how to install Ubuntu on your Windows machine. So that way you can also follow along this course. So go ahead and follow the instructions. If you have any questions or queries, go ahead and ask them on the group, right? So that's the best way for you to ask questions. Alright, so to kick off this course, let's go ahead and open up the terminal. So go ahead and press Command and then space and then search for terminal. And right here, this is the default terminal that comes with Mac OS. And right here, you can see that we are running bash, but we're going to change this in a second. So I personally don't use the terminal. So this terminal right here, because it's not flexible and it doesn't have lots of features. So a lot of software engineers end up using Iterm. So this is the replacement for terminal, and it has lots of features, and it's black instead of being all white. And to be honest, it's just the terminal of choice. So let's go ahead and actually download Iterm. So there we go. And let me actually unzip it right here. And now what I'm going to do is actually open up the applications folder and then pretty much just drop Iterm inside, just like that. And now I can delete this zip folder right here. So now if I go ahead and close this, and I can close the default terminal. And now let me search for Iterm. You can see that it's there. Open it up. And then open. And there we go. So you can see that now this is looking much better. And you can see that it's really slick. So what I'm going to do here is actually increase the font size so you can see exactly everything throughout this course. So let me go to Iterm 2 and then Preferences. We have Profiles, and then let me go to Text, or actually Text, and then the font right here. Let me simply make it bigger, so 22, just like that. And I think, or 24, so you can see, oops, not 224 but 24, just like that. And I think this should be good for you to see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to increase this in a second, but if I close this now if I make this bigger, and now I can clear everything. So I've just pressed Control and then L, and basically that removes everything that I have in my shell. So just let me show you. So if I have some gibberish right here, and if I want to clear everything, I'm just going to press Control and then L. So that gets rid of everything. It's not actually clearing everything, because I can scroll up and you can see that everything is there, right? So it's just putting, it's just giving me some space without me seeing what's been typed before. So Control L, and you can see that everything is gone. So if your Iterm is not all black like mine, go to Iterm 2 and then Preferences, and then go to Appearance, and then right here. So you can see that the theme, my one is set to minimal, but you can experiment with these ones. For example, if I go to light, so you can see it's different now, right? But I personally prefer everything black because it looks just so cool. So if I put it back, Preferences, and then right here, theme, minimal, and there we go. So if I clear this now, and I think I've got this, yeah, so I've got the settings right here as well. And now I'm going to center things. So there we go. We have Iterm. So you've seen that I've actually been centering things. So right here. So if my terminal is right here, I can press Alt Command C and everything is centered. And I can do stuff like, shifting things to the left like that, and then increase it, or to the right and just like that, and make it full screen. Alt Command F, full screen, right? So I'm actually using this application called Spectacle, right? I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video so you can download, because it makes it really easy for you to organize your windows. So for example, so right here, if I open up the applications, and now I can go ahead and put this to the side, and you can see that everything is organized. But I'm going to leave a link on the description of this video so you can download and you can organize your windows I think it's really awesome, and I use it throughout the day when coding because I've got two screens and I can switch between screens by using Spectacle. It's really awesome. So now that we have Iterm installed, next let's go ahead and install ZSH. Alright, in this video, let's go ahead and install ZSH. So ZSH is really useful when you are working with your own machine. And this is what pretty much most software engineers have installed and configured on their machines. So Bash is the default shell that comes with macOS and Linux, right? And what ZSH is, it's simply a shell that takes all the goodness of all the other shells, including Bash, and makes it better, right? So this is really good for our local development, right? But bear in mind, if for example you are working with a server somewhere in the cloud, you're most likely not going to have ZSH installed, right? You're simply going to have Bash, right? So this means that everything that you learn with ZSH will be applicable to Bash. So this is mainly for our own development, and as you see, ZSH and My ZSH gives you lots of flexibilities, plugins, and it's really awesome. So it's worth you installing it. So Bash is the default shell for most Linux operating systems. So there is another shell called ZSH, and basically what ZSH does, it incorporates all useful features from all other shells and makes it really awesome by providing lots of extra features such as auto completions, spelling corrections, path replacement, and the list goes on. So to find out the current shell that you have installed, so I can see right here that it's Bash, but there is a command that you can see whether you are using Bash or not. We're going to install ZSH in a second, but now go ahead and simply say echo for now. So echo simply prints an output to the shell. So simply say echo and then $, and then shell, all capital. Enter, and you can see that we have bin/bin and then bash. So this tells us that we are using Bash. So to switch from Bash to ZSH, we have to install ZSH and then tell it to switch. So I just want to say that even though we are switching to ZSH, ZSH doesn't replace Bash, right? So ZSH doesn't replace Bash. So everything that you learn, so most of the times you will end up using Bash. For example, if you SSH into remote servers, you will have Bash as a default. You don't need all the extra features that ZSH has to offer. But because we are using it locally in our local machine, we can simply install the best of the best shells. So to install ZSH, the easiest way for you to do it is to install Homebrew. So Homebrew is the package manager for Mac OS or Linux, and basically allows you to install a bunch of software by just writing commands. So the way that you install Homebrew is very simple. Simply grab this command right here, and right here you see that it says bin bash and then -c, and then it passes this command right here. So grab this command, command C, go back to your shell, paste that in, and then enter, and there we go. It's actually downloading and installing Homebrew right here. So this might take a while, and there we go. So now I can go ahead and simply type brew. So right here you can see that you can write brew and then help. So if I press Ctrl L to clear the screen and then enter, you can see that we have a bunch of these commands, right? So brew install, brew update. So this is how you're going to install packages, right? So for example, you can install VS Code, you can install Java, you can install any software really with Homebrew. So what we want to install is ZSH. So let's go ahead and simply clear the screen. So Control L and then brew install and then ZSH. Enter. There we go. It's downloading. And ta-da, that was really quick. Now let me go ahead and clear the screen. And remember before, when we run echo and then dash and then shell, remember we had bin bash. Now the way that we switch to ZSH is by running the following command. So simply type ch and then sh dash s and then /bin / and instead of bin bash, simply say bin ZSH. Press enter. And then I need to specify my password. There we go. And you can see that worked. Now let me press up a couple of times. So the up arrow. So this goes through the previous commands. So right here, echo shell. You see that we still have bin bash. And that is because we need to execute this shell. So let's go ahead and pretty much just press Command T for a new tab. There we go. We have a new tab. And you can see that right here, we have ZSH. So this is ZSH already. I can see it because Iterm tells me that this is using ZSH. So let me go ahead and clear, or actually close this tab. We don't need it. And now let's again run echo and then $, and then shell all capitals, enter, and there we go. So now we are using ZSH. So this is pretty much how you install ZSH. Next, let's go ahead and install My ZSH, which is a framework for managing our ZSH configuration. And this is what really sets everything apart. So this is all for now. If you have any questions on this, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, join me in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and install My ZSH. So what My ZSH is simply an open source community driven framework for managing your ZSH configuration. It comes bundled with thousands of helpful functions, plugins, themes, and it comes with a lot of other cool stuff. So right here, you can see that it has over 250 plugins. There are a lot of developers contributing to this open source framework, and you see that you can have awesome looking terminals. Sometimes you see people with fancy terminals, and it's because of My ZSH. So I'm going to leave this link on the description of this video so you can follow along, and also the GitHub repository. So right here, so you can see that there are a lot of people contributing to this framework, as I said. And if I scroll down, you can see that they have some basic installation on how to use it. So it comes with lots of plugins. So all you have to do is simply I'm going to show you in a second, but basically edit this file called .zshrc, and you can see that they have these plugins. So Git, Bundler, Rake, Ruby, and they have lots of really useful plugins. And the same with themes. So if you want to customize your terminal, you can simply set the theme by pretty much just changing this variable right here to whatever theme that you want. So let's go ahead and install My ZSH. So scroll up and you can see that we can install via curl. So grab this line, Command C, go back to your shell. Let me clear this, Control L, paste that in, enter, and you can immediately see the difference. So there we go. So please look over the .zsh to select plugins, themes, and options, and you can follow them on Twitter, so on and so forth. But basically now you can see that. So this was my shell before, and now it's looking already good, right? So you can see that we have this arrow, and to be fair to me, this is what I go for, right? So I don't tend to use themes. So I don't use themes because I feel just having all black theme throughout, it's sufficient enough for me. But if you want to customize My ZSH, go ahead and simply type VI, and we're going to learn about VI later in this course, but for now just follow along, and then make sure that you are in the root folder, right? So if I clear this, so go ahead and simply say cd, and again I'm going to teach you about all these commands, but for now go ahead and type cd and then tilde. So this makes sure that you are at the root level. So if I now type vi and then .zshrc, and there we go, you can see that we have a bunch of options right here. So I'm gonna press shift and then square bracket, so this will go sentence by sentence. So you can see that we have the ZSH theme right here, and basically this is where you configure everything about My ZSH, right? So I'm not gonna, so also you can see right here plugins, right? So I'm not going to customize this because I feel like this could take hours just to make sure that it is according to your personal preference, right? So I feel like this is something that you should go and experiment and change the terminal according to your preference, right? So I know people, they have really cool setups, but for me this is more than enough, right? But for example, here you could have functions, right? You could have helper functions, and if you do stuff quite often, you can simply have a function and then invoke that function instead of typing the command over and over again. You can also have aliases and a bunch of other cool stuff. So I think this is enough for me, right? I'm not going to touch this because, as I said, this is something that you should go out there and see how you want to customize it according to your like. So I'm gonna pretty much just come out of this. So now go ahead and press escape and then column. So you can see that we have column right here, and then Q, and then exclamation mark, and there we go. So now we are outside of VI. So I'm going to show you exactly what VI is later on, but I just wanted to show you the contents inside of the .zsh. And this is pretty much everything you need in order to get going with Iterm, ZSH, and My ZSH. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message and I can clarify your questions. So I'm going to leave the links for everything that you saw in the description of this video, including the themes. If you want to change it, for example, to have so let me actually show you. So if I right here, so let's type My ZSH themes. So right here you can see that you have a list of a bunch of themes, right? So have a look. So you can change your terminal to look like one of those, but as I said, I pretty much just use the black one because I feel like it's enough. I'm not that picky, but I actually used to, I'm not gonna lie, I used to use all of these different themes, but then it just gets to a point where you just get tired of them and you just stick to the defaults. So there we go. So I'm gonna leave a link of this page as well, so you can have a look and experiment for yourself. But the instructions for setting up the themes is very straightforward. So everything is down here. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know and I can clarify all of your questions. This is all for now. Join me in the next one. See ya. All right, before we move on and start learning how to interact with our shell using bash, I'm going to show you a few things which are really cool about Iterm. So the first thing is, if I go to Iterm and open up preferences, now the list of these options are, you can see there are many options, right? So you got general, appearance, profiles. You can customize it the way you want it, really. So just, things to worth mention is, for example, right here. So under profiles, go to text, and right here you see that the cursor, you can choose between underline, vertical bar, or a box, right? So my one, it's a box, and you can even choose a blinking cursor. So if I show you, what does it look like? You can see that now it's blinking. So this actually tells you where the cursor is, right? And I kind of like it, so I'm just going to leave it like this. I've actually never used it before, but I'm going to use it so you can see exactly where my cursor is. So if I go back to these settings, so preferences, and let me center this, and then open up profiles, center it again, and let me go to, I think it's window, and right here, so right here you can even have, for example, a background image right within your shell, right? So you can customize, instead of being all black, this could be an image. And something which is really nice is right here you can have a transparency, so you see that this is now showing what is behind, right? Which is really cool. So this gives a very nice look. And you can also add some blur. So if I tick the blur box, now you can see that I got a blur there, and it's really nice, right? So usually what I do is, I just go a little bit, so it's so subtle that you kind of see what's behind, but not everything, right? So this looks really nice. And yeah, but for now, what I'm going to do is actually remove everything, because I want it to be all black so you can see fully exactly what I'm doing. And last thing here that we're going to do to configure this is go to keys, and right here, so right here you see where it says left option and right option, go ahead and change to escape plus and escape plus, right? So what this allows you to do is to navigate easier on your keyboard, and I'm going to show you this in a second, but for now just go ahead and change this to escape plus and escape plus. Now if I go ahead and close this, you can see that now we've got the cursor. Now if I go ahead and type hello, how are you, for example, this is not a command, but I just want to show you. So now I'm going to press Alt and then B, so Alt B, so you can see that this goes back, right? And then Alt and then F, and this goes forward, right? So this is why I've changed this setting right here. So if I go to keys, or actually was profiles and then keys, so I've changed this to escape plus and this to escape plus, but I'm going to show you exactly more shortcuts, but for now let me go ahead and simply press Control C, right? So this cancels the current command, and let me go ahead and clear the screen, so I can type Control L or clear, and you can see that that clears the screen, but I usually use Control L because it's much faster. Now the last thing that I want to show you is within Iterm you can have multiple shells open at once. So go ahead and press Command and then D, and now you can see that you have two shells right within Iterm. So this is awesome. So for example, on this shell you might do some stuff, and on this one you might do some other things, right? And the cool thing about it is you can have multiple of these open. I think it's up to 7 or 8, but basically if I press Command D again, you can see that I get 2 new shells. Now what I'm going to do is press Command and then W, so this will get rid of the shell, and then Command W again, and then Command W again. Now let me go ahead and press Command W once more, so you see that I've got 2 shells. Now I'm going to press Shift Command and then D, and now you can see that it goes horizontally and not vertically. So I can press Shift Command D again, and you can see that I've got 4 shells, and this is really useful when you have big screens, right? So if I delete that, I can press Command Shift and then D right here, and now I got 2 shells, right? So here, for example, I can do echo hello. There we go, you go hello, and then right here I could delete that, for example, clear the screen, and let's type PW and then D for now, right? And you see that these are 2 different commands being executed in 2 different shells. So I just wanted to let you know that you can do it within Iterm, and it's something very useful when you have a large screen. So now that we have all the configuration out of the way, next let's go ahead and learn about some useful commands that you should be aware when working within the shell. Alright, so let me clarify a few things that we've done in this section. So bash, right? So bash is the default shell for macOS and Linux, right? So bash is the default shell for macOS and Linux. And basically the shell, right? The shell takes your inputs and execute those against the operating system, against the underlying operating system, right? You might be on Mac, you might be on Windows, or you might be on Linux, right? So depending where you are, right? So the shell will take the commands that we will type throughout this course. And actually you've done some commands already, right? So it takes those commands and it executes it against the operating system. The terminal or the Iterm that we've installed, it's simply a program that wraps around the shell. Nothing else. It's just a program that wraps around the shell. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. Alright, before we start learning about some useful commands that we can use within our shell, let me go ahead first and show you how you're going to be able to navigate around using just the keyboard. So remember before, so right here, if I go to Iterm and then Preferences, and then go to Profiles, Keys, and right here we selected these 2 options, right? Escape plus and then Escape plus. So now what this allows me to do is the following. So make sure that you learn this, because often you'll find going back and forwards right within your shell. So let's go ahead for now and simply say select. So this is a random command, right? So select star from and then customer. So let's say that we have a customer table, right? And then where ID equals 2 and then 5, and then press semicolon. Now what I want to teach you is how you're going to navigate around. So how you're going to go back, how you're going to go to the end, and so on and so forth. So let's say that you want to go to the very beginning of this text. Now you might be thinking that you should really be using the arrows, right? So I could use the arrows to go back, but you could see that the whole point of using the shell is that it's faster to execute commands, and there are a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So if you want to go to the beginning, simply press Control and then A, and now you see that I'm at the beginning, right? If I want to go to the end, instead of me pressing the right arrow to go character by character, I don't have to do that. I'm going to press Control A again to go to the end, or actually beginning, and then Control E to go to the end. And you can see that it's really fast. So Control A to beginning, Control E to end, and that's all. Now, how do you go back one word? So simply press Alt, and then B. So this goes back word at a time. If you want to go forwards, you press Alt and then F. You can see that I'm going forwards, and then backwards, and then forwards, backwards, and then Control E to the end, Control A to beginning. And you can see that it's much easier. Now let's go ahead and move a character. Well, actually, let's move some characters forward. So I'm pressing Alt and then F. And let's say that I want to delete where. Let's say I want to delete the where keyword. So what I'm going to do here is simply press Alt and then the backspace. And you can see that I'm deleting just like that, right? Now let me go ahead and type that again. So select and then star from customer where ID equals to and then 5. Now if I want to delete forwards, simply press Alt and then D, and you can see that it's deleting forwards. And I can delete backwards if I've got some gibberish here, right? Let me go back a couple of words. So Alt and then B, and then Alt delete forwards, right? And then if I want to delete backwards, I can simply press Alt and then backspace, and there we go. So often, when typing commands, you will definitely need to go back, for example, and then forwards, and then delete again, and then type, and then basically how you're going to be able to move back and forward using the keyboard. You don't want to be using the arrows, right? You should really be using the keyboard shortcuts that I've just taught you. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, so the goal of this course is to help you to not be afraid of using the terminal, the shell, the command line, whatever you want to call it, right? So I know from experience, when I started, I was really afraid of this black screen, but the goal really of this course is to show you that it's not difficult, and I'm going to simplify the process so that you see exactly how to use it. And by the end of this course, I'm going to convince you that everything that you've been doing with your mouse, you should really be doing with your shell. So let's kick off and learn about some useful commands, and then we'll dive into some more useful stuff. So the first command I want to teach you with your shell is date. So simply type date, and right here you can see that this is giving me my current date. You could also type cal for calendar. So right here you can see that we have April 2020, and this is the 2nd. Let's say that you want to find out the calendar, so the full calendar for 2020. So simply type cal and then 2020. If I clear the screen, Control L, enter, and there we go. You can see that this is now the full calendar for 2020. So I know sometimes, these are really useful things to find out. For example, if you want to know the calendar, instead of you open up your calendar, you can pretty much just use a terminal, because the terminal, right, or your shell will always be open. If you are an engineer, you should have it always available, right? This is what I use every single day to perform most of my tasks. So if I now clear the screen, so you saw how to use the calendar, the date. So let me go ahead and type who, and then I, enter, and you can see that this is the actual user, right? So this is Amigos code. So this is the user that I'm logged into. Now, with all of these commands, there is a manual. So basically, you can learn the entire list of commands by using the manual. And the way that you access the manual is simply by typing MAN, and basically this is the man page. So if I press enter, you see that it tells you what manual page do you want, right? Because there are lots of commands, but for the sake of it, let's go ahead and simply say man and then cal. So cal for calendar. Enter, and now you can see that it gives you a description, right? So the name displays the calendar and the date of Easter, and then you can see the description here. And if I press space, it goes down, and now you can see the list of all the options that you can use with this command. So if I press space, and you can see there are a bunch of options, right? Now let me go ahead and press Q to exit right here, and I can also type man and then date. Enter, and you can see that the same thing, right? So whenever you want to learn about a command, or you want to find out extra options about a command, you should be really referring to the man page, right? And this is all for now. So I just wanted to show you these really simple commands before we dive into some other really cool stuff. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, let's go ahead and learn about some directories and folder operations. So let me actually put this aside just like this, and again, just like that, right? And if I pretty much just clear the screen, and all of us have done stuff like this. So let's go ahead and create a new folder, and then let's rename this to, let's say, example, and then inside we open it up, and then we create a new folder again, or a new file. So actually, let's say example -1, right? So you can see that this is, it's okay, but we are software engineers, right? You are a software engineer, and you shouldn't really be doing stuff like this. Or for example, if you have a folder here, and then let's say example -2, and then maybe drag and drop here, and there we go, right? So you shouldn't be doing stuff like this. Why? Because I'm teaching you how to be more efficient and how to use your shell, right, to speed up your workflow. So let me teach you some commands that allow you to work effectively with folders. So go ahead and type pwd. So pwd means present working directory. So I'm going to press enter, and right here you can see that I'm inside of users /amigos code, right? Now go ahead and simply type ls, and ls will show you the contents inside of this folder right here called Amigos code. So for you it might be different, but go ahead and press enter, and there we go. So now you can see that we have applications, desktop, documents, downloads, libraries, so on and so forth, right? So let's go ahead and actually say man and then ls. So I want you to see the keyboard shortcuts, or actually the actual man page for ls. So ls, list directory contents, and you can see some description. If I press space, and you can see that we have a couple of options. So dash and then a, include directories entry whose names begin with a dot, and you got c -d, and the list goes on, right? So let me press Q to quit, and let me go ahead and simply say ls and then minus and then A. And there we go. So now you can see that I do have a lot more stuff in here. So you can see that these are the folders that begin with a dot. Now let me clear the screen. Now let me say ls and then dash A and then L. And there we go. So now you can see that I've got a bit more information about the actual contents, right? So right here, I can see that this is a file, right? Because right here, so this first digit means that this is a directory. And if it doesn't have it, it's because it's a file, right? So right here, you can see that I've got a couple of directories. And if I scroll up, you can see that I also have some files, right? So you've seen this file .zshrc, and this was the file that we've edited a while back, right? So let me actually now clear the screen and type pwd again, right? So you see that I'm inside of Amigos code. Now let me type ls. And you can see that I do have applications, desktop, documents, music, so on and so forth. So what I want to do is navigate into my desktop. So simply type cd for change directory and then desktop. So I've just pressed des, and what I'm going to do is press tab. I'm going to press tab, and you can see that that gives me auto completion. So if I go back and then press tab with just D, and you can see that it's finding every folder that begins with the letter D, right? So we can only change directory into folders, directories, right? So if I delete D and I press tab again, you can see that these are all the folders that I can change directory into, right? Now let me go ahead and type desktop. I've just pressed tab, enter, and there we go. So now let me go ahead and press ls, and you can see that we have example. So this example right here is our folder. So if I collapse this, you can see that it's this folder right here. Now let's go ahead and say cd into example, enter. Now let's type pwd, and you can see that now I'm inside of users, Amigos code, desktop, and then example. Now, how do you go back? So let's say that we want to go back from example, right? So right now we are inside of example folder, inside of our desktop, which is inside of Amigos code. How do we go back a folder or two folders or three folders? So the way you do it is cd for changing directory and then dot dot. So dot dot goes back one folder, pwd, and you can see that from example, we went to desktop right here. Now let's go ahead and go back again. So cd dot dot, and I can even put a / dot dot, and this will go back two folders. Press enter, pwd, and now you see that we went from desktop back to Amigos code, and then now we are inside of users. Now let me show you something really cool which will save you a lot of time. So let's go ahead and navigate into Amigos code and then desktop, right? So there we go. So now we are inside of desktop. Now let's say that we want to go back to the folder that we were in, right? So users. So I could actually go cd dot dot and then dot dot, and that will take me back to users. But what I can do is simply say cd and then dash and then press enter, and you can see that it takes me back to the previous folder. So if I press cd and then dash again, you can see that it took me back to desktop. So another thing that I want to show you is, let's go ahead and navigate to example, and then inside of example we have example 1, right? So if I type pwd, you see that right here, so this is the root of my user, right? Because I'm not allowed to see other users' folders. So how do I go back to the root folder, i.e. users amigos code? Simply type cd and then tilde. So you could actually say cd and then dot dot / dot dot / dot dot / right? So one folder, two folders, three folders back, right? So you could do this, or even better, cd and then tilde, enter, and you can see that now if I do a pwd, I'm inside of users / amigos code. Now let's go ahead and navigate to desktop, and right here let's go ahead and learn how to create a folder. So the command to create a folder is simply mk, so make, and then dir for directory. Now let's give it a name. So let's go ahead and simply say example, and then dash, and then 3. Enter, and you can see that we have example3 folder right here. To delete a folder, simply say rm. So let's actually go ahead and create a new folder. So let's say example, and then to delete, and then enter, and you can see that we have an example to delete folder. Now let's go ahead and simply type rm and then example to, and then delete, enter, and you can see that we can't just simply delete a directory like this. Now the reason being is because inside of this directory, right, we might have subdirectories. So the way you delete a directory and its subdirectories and files is by simply say rm and then dash and then r. So in fact, let me go ahead and simply say man and then rm and put this full screen, and there we go. So you can see we have, so right here, -d, attempt to remove directories as well as other types of files. But what I want to show you is right here. So -r, remove the hierarchy rooted of each file argument, right? So this is what we actually want. And we also have, so let me actually go back. So -f. So this is delete all the files without prompting for confirmation. So let me press Q and let me do an ls. So you see that we have this folder right here. So let's go ahead and simply say rm dash and then r and then f and then example to delete. Press enter, and now if I do an ls, you can see that the folder has gone. And if you don't believe me, right here, the folder is no longer here, right? Now, how do we put this folder, example-3, inside of example? So the way we do it is you could actually grab this and put it inside, but we're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and simply say mv for move, and then example -3. So this is the source and the destination is example, and then enter, and there we go. So now it's inside of example. So if I do an ls and an example, you can see that we have the example-3 right there. So if we want to remove it back, so let's go ahead and simply remove it back to desktop. So move, we're going to move the folder which is inside of example, and it's called example-3, and then 3, and then where do I want to move it? I'm going to say dot. So currently I'm inside of desktop, right? So dot means the current directory. So enter, and there we go. So you can see that we have example-3 right here. Now let's actually go ahead and put it back. So move example-3 into example. So there we go. So these are the most frequently commands that you're going to be using to work with directories. And I actually forgot one more, which is really useful. So let's actually go ahead and say that we want to create. So let me actually show you. So if I clear the screen and then type man and then make and then dir. So right here. So right here. So -p, create intermediate directories as required. So what this means is I can go ahead and simply say make dir and then example -4. So this is the folder, and then / and then hello / and then world. So if I try and create this doesn't work, right? Because I need to specify -p to also create these subdirectories. So I'm going to press the up arrow once, and then I'm going to go back by pressing Alt and then B. There we go. And then right here, dash and then P space, and then enter. And you can see that now it worked. So if I do an ls, you can see that we have example 4. If I do ls and then example 4, enter, you can see that we have hello. And let me actually go ahead and simply inside of example 4, hello, ls, and you can see that we have world, right? And I can try and list inside of world, and there is nothing inside. Now let's go ahead and simply say move and then example 4 into example, enter, ls, and you can see that we have example folder. And if I do an ls into example, and there you go, we have example 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sometimes it's really useful to see the folder structure of all the folders, right? So there is a command that allows us to see the actual tree structure. So let me simply say tree and then example, enter, and you can see that tree is not found. So what I'm going to do is simply say brew and then install. So this, we have to actually install it, and then simply type tree. Just give you a second, and there we go. Now if I clear the screen, now let me go ahead and simply type tree and an example, enter, and look at this. Now we have the actual tree structure, and the same. So I could go ahead and simply type a tree -- help, and you can see that I've got the list of all the available options, right? So right here, so you can see -a, all files are listed, only directories. Let's try that. So Control L and then tree -l and then example, and there you go. So now we only have the directories, right? And in fact, we have 0 files. That's why you only see directories right here. So tree is a very useful command to simply see your folder structure. All right, before we wrap up this section on working with directories, I forgot to show you how you're going to rename a folder. So if I collapse this, so sometimes you might be tempted to rename folders like this. So you click on it and then you simply rename it as, for example, tutorials, right? Tutorials, just like that, right? So this is fine, but again, you should really be using the terminal for these things, right? So the way you do it is, if I go ahead and simply say tree, and it's no longer example, it's actually tutorials, and then enter. So let me actually put this full screen, and you can see that, let me make this bigger. There we go. So if I type the same command again, you can see that we have tutorials, example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's go ahead and rename this back to example examples. So before it was example, but now let's go ahead and rename it to examples. So you saw that we can move, right? We can move folders around by using the move command. But the move command also serves to rename directories. So right here, simply say examples, just like that, right? So what it's going to do is actually take this folder and then rename it into examples. So if I press enter, now if I do an ls, you see that now we actually renamed it from tutorials to example. Let me show you once more. So ls, it's examples now. I can go ahead and actually say, instead of tutorials, so we want examples, and then we want to rename that to, let's say, example without s, right? If I do an ls, you see that we have example without s. Let's actually rename it to examples, because we have a bunch of examples, or actually empty folders called example inside. So move and then example to examples, just like that, ls, and there we go. So I just wanted to show you that this is how you should go around renaming your directories. This is all for this section. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. But next, let's go ahead and learn how to work with files. All right, let's go ahead and learn how we're going to work with files. So there are two ways that you're going to create files, and I'm going to show you the other way later, which is my preferred way. But for now, let's go ahead and simply learn about the touch command. So touch allows you to create a file. So let's go ahead and simply create a file called query.sql. If I press enter and now ls, you can see that we have a file right here called query.sql. In terms of moving around and deleting a file as well as renaming, is the exact same thing as we did with directories. So if I clear the screen and then make this bigger again, right here, let's go ahead and simply say we want to move the query SQL to examples. So we want to move it inside, right? So there we go, ls. Now if we say an ls inside of examples, we should see query.sql inside. Now let's move it back. So move, and then inside of examples we have query.sql and then dot. So dot means the current directory. There we go, ls, and we have query.sql again. So let's go ahead and remove the .sql file. So rm and then query.sql ls, and you see that the file is now gone. So let's go ahead and simply touch again. So let's touch and then query-1.sql, and let's also touch query and then 2.sql ls, and now we have two files. Let's say that you want to remove all the files. So go ahead and simply say rm, and right here let's simply say query, and then let's say star.sql. So basically what this will do, it will delete all the files that start with query dash and then anything right here. So this means anything. So we have two files. So this one is -1 and this one is -2, and this will remove them both and this will delete them both instead of us deleting one by one. Press enter, ls, and you can see that they are now gone. So far these files are actually empty. They don't have anything inside, right? So let me show you a trick. So sometimes you might want to add things into a file when you actually create them. But I'm going to show you one way using echo. but then I'm going to show you Vim because that's the preferred way. But for now, let's go ahead and simply say echo. So echo, and then right here, if we do a select star from and then customer, this with semicolon inside, if I press enter, you see that we get echoed back select star from customer. Now we can take that and then like this. So do a greater sign and then query.sql. Enter. Now check this out. So if I now clear the screen, if I do an ls, you can see that we have query.sql. Now the way that you can simply quickly see the contents inside of this query.sql right here is by simply typing cat. So cat and then the actual file, so query.sql, enter, and now you can see that we have the query that we've just added to our file. Now let's say that you want to append to query.sql. So the way you append to it is if I press up a couple of times. So instead of adding one greater sign, you add two, and this means append to it. And now let's go ahead and simply say, for example, select star from and then order and then enter. And if I now cat and then query.sql, enter, you can see that now we have two select statements. So remember, two greater signs is appending. One, it means override. So if I was to, for example, do this, so with just one greater sign, enter, and let me cat the query, and you can see that it's gone, right? So just remember, if you want to append is 2, if you want to override is just 1. But I'm going to show you a better way of manipulating files with Vim later on. All right, let's go ahead and open up the query.sql using any text editor. So I've got Sublime right here, and I'm going to drop this file inside just like that. And what I'm going to do is actually duplicate this a couple of times. So I'm just going to duplicate just like that. So about, let's say 40 times. I'm going to save this, and let me actually close now Sublime. And basically Sublime is a text editor, right? So you might use, for example, text edit. So this one right here that comes with Mac to do the exact same thing, right? So you could open it up and then basically just let me show you just like that, and you can see that you can pretty much do the same thing, right? So let's add more there and then save it, and there we go. So if I quit out of this, now if I go ahead and put this full screen, so remember I've showed you how to see the contents of the file. So let's go ahead and simply say cat and then the actual query.sql. Press enter, and right here you see that I can scroll up and you see I can see all the contents, right? But sometimes what you want to do is actually just see the first 10 lines or the last 10 lines, or even paginate through, right? So let me open up again Sublime and let me drop this inside. And what I'm going to do here is simply say beginning, and let's actually add a comment here just like that. And then right here, let's simply add another one. So comment and then end. I'm going to save this and then close Sublime once more, full screen. Now let's go ahead and clear the screen. And now let's say that you want to paginate through your file. So you want to go, so basically you don't want to have the output as cat gave us, right? So cat and then query. So you see that we go straight to the end, right? So what we want to do is actually paginate through. So let me clear the screen. I'm going to say less and then query.sql. Now if I press enter, you can see that now we start at the beginning. And now the way you paginate through this is by simply pressing the space. So right here, you see that I've pressed space a couple of times and we've reached the end. So this is how you paginate through files. Now if I press Q to exit, let's say that you want to just see the first 10 lines. So go ahead and simply say head and then the file name, query.sql, enter, and there we go. So you see that we only see the first 10 lines. If you want to see the last 10 lines, let me clear this, simply say tail and then the actual file, query.sql, enter, and now you see that we only are seeing the last 10 files. So there we go. So usually you will be end up using cat or less head and tail to view the contents inside of your file. Remember, this is just to view the contents, not editing. I'm going to show you how to edit it with Vim, but these commands right here, they simply give you the ability to see the contents of your file. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, let me go ahead and show you how to use the cp command. So you've seen how we move files and folders from one destination to another. So let me go ahead and simply type ls, and let's say that we want to copy this file right here. So query.sql. So the cp command works similar to the move, but instead of moving, it just copies the file, leaving the original one intact. So let's go ahead and simply say cp for copy. And as always, you can always use the man page, right? So man cp, and you can see a bunch of information on how to use the copy command. So let me press Q. Now let's go ahead and simply say cp and then query. So this is the actual destination, or actually this is the actual source. So query.sql, and the destination will be query dash and then copy.sql. Enter. Now if I do an ls, you can see that we have the actual copy right here. Now we could actually copy inside of another folder. So let's go ahead and simply say that we want to copy everything. Or actually, let's just copy this one right here. So let's simply say cp and then query and then dash copy. We want to copy this file to, oh actually not just the file, let's copy everything, right? So we want to copy everything, so everything that ends with .sql. So let's simply say star, right? So right here the name doesn't matter, so star.sql means any file that ends in .sql. So we want to copy it to examples, oops, not etc, but examples folder. If I press enter, now if I do an ls, oops, ls, so you can see properly, there we go. So we have the two files here. Now if I do ls and then examples, enter, oops, not less, ls and then examples, enter, there we go. You can see that we have the two files that we've just copied. Now let's go ahead and clear the screen. Let me say tree and then examples, enter, and there we go. You can see that the two files are right here, and you can see now we have two files here and 6 directories. So this is how you're going to copy files around. Now the copy command also works with folders or directories. Now if I do an ls, so you can see exactly the folder. So let's say that we want to copy the examples folder. Simply say cp examples, and let's simply say examples and then dash copy. Press enter. And right here, you see that examples is a directory, cannot be copied. Now, the same way that we add that we had to add the -r for recursive when we deleted a directory. We have to do the same here, right? Because we want to copy all the contents. So cp dash and then r examples to examples dash copy, enter, and now you see that we don't have any errors. Now let's go ahead and simply say ls, and there we go. So we have examples and examples copy, as well as the files that we've just copied. And this is pretty much everything you need to know about the copy command. If you have any questions on this, drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. Alright, in this video, let's go ahead and learn about the find command. So basically, the find command is used to search and locate the list of files and directories based on conditions that you specify. So right now I'm inside of, so pwd, I'm inside of Amigos code. So let me go ahead and navigate to the desktop right here. And what I want to do is find all the files that I have within my desktop. So go ahead and simply say find and then dot and then enter. And now you can see that we have a bunch of files and folders. So right here, if I scroll up, you can see that we have a bunch of files and folders. So what we can do with the find keyword is be more specific with our condition. So right here, when I said find dot, it simply finds anything. So let's say that we want to find a file called query.sql. So let me clear the screen. And right here, I'm going to say find dot. So from the current directory that I'm in downwards, any file, so with name right here, and then query.sql, enter. And now you can see that we have 3 files that are named query.sql. So right here, we can also be more specific, right? Because this will actually find any file, but we can actually say the type of the search, because find works with directories and files. So right here, you can see that we are searching within this directory right here, and the same with this one right here. So let's go ahead and simply press the up arrow, and right here I'm going to say before name, I'm going to say dash, or actually dash type, and then we can say F for file or D for directory. So let's simply add F, enter. You can see that now we are being specific, that we just want to find files, right? So now, I mean, you couldn't have a folder called .sql, maybe not, maybe yes. But now if I go ahead and actually change this from F to D, right, and then enter, you can see that we get no results back. So you can also ignore the search. So let's go ahead and say touch, and then query all caps .sql, and this should be touch. There we go, enter. Now if I go ahead and search, so right here with the type of F and then query.sql, enter, you can see that our file is not included. So if you want to ignore the case, let me simply go back and simply say I and then name and then enter. And that didn't work. So let me actually do an ls, and it looks like the file wasn't created. So let's actually do this. So let's go ahead and say move and then query.sql to query.sql, just like that. If I do an ls, now you can see that we've capitalized this file right here. So let's go ahead and now run the exact same command that we tried. So this one, so press enter, and now you can see that it works. So right here, you see that we are ignoring the case. So if I remove the I, go back, enter, you see that it doesn't work. You can find all the files ending in .sql by simply removing that and then say star.sql. And this doesn't work because it has to be within double quotes, just like that. Enter. And now you can see that we have all the files which end in .sql. You could also find all the empty files. So let me actually clear this. You could say find and then dot and then dash type f for file and then dash empty. There we go. So you see that we have this file which is empty. Now if I go ahead and remove the type, so remove that, enter, and right here you can see that all of these folders are actually empty, right? So remember, we haven't got nothing inside of these folders right here. Another thing that you can do is actually delete files based off your find condition. So let's go ahead and clear the screen and simply say find dot, and then right here let's go ahead and simply say dash type f, and then we want to find query.sql and then dash name query.sql, enter, and you can see that we get one file back, right? So now let's go ahead and simply delete this file. So simply press the up arrow and then dash and then D, or actually not D, delete. So this will actually delete the file based off our find condition right here. So if I press enter, there we go. Now if I try and find again the file, you can see that it's gone, right? Because we've deleted it. And if I type ls, you can see that we only have this query copy. And there we go. So this is pretty much some of the things that you can do with the find command. But obviously, if you go ahead and type man and then find, so right here, you can see that you can go through the options, right? So dash F right here. Remember, we saw this. If I scroll up, I want you to see. So right here, oh, actually, it wasn't the F. I think the one we saw was. So if I scroll down, so you've seen dash delete, and then I name right here. So like name, but the match case is insensitive. And basically there are a lot of cool things that you can do with the find command. So go ahead and experiment, and I'm going to leave some links as well so you can find more examples. If you have any questions on find, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. Now let's go ahead and learn about this useful command called grep. So grep stands for Global Regular Expressions Print, and basically it is used to search text within files. So the command is very straightforward. You simply say grep, and then right here, so inside, so this is a regular expression. So if you don't know what regular expressions are, I will leave a link in the description of this video so you can learn how to use regular expressions. But basically a regular expression, it's simply a sequence of characters that define a search pattern. So right here, let's go ahead and simply search for end. Right here, we want to search for end. And then right here, we can specify the file name or the folder. So let's go ahead and search for the word end inside of examples. So bear in mind that I'm inside of desktop at the moment. Now, before I press enter, so examples right here, it's actually a folder. So remember, we've been doing things with folders, and every time that we use folders, we have to say that we want the command to execute in recursive mode. So if I press enter, you can see that it says grep examples is a directory. Now let me go ahead and go back. So I'm going to press Alt and then B, and right here dash and then R. Now if I press enter, you can see that we have found two searches, or actually two results, right? So end is inside of query.sql and inside of query.sql copy. Now let's also say that we want to see which line number that this result is, right? So let's go ahead and simply say -r and also n, and then enter, and you can see that now we have the line numbers right here. So 57 and 57. So let's go ahead and search for the word customer. So let's go ahead and simply say grep -r and then n, and let me also go ahead and add I. So I is for case insensitive. The same way that we did with find, we can use it with grep. So now I'm going to search for customer, and then inside of, let's simply say dot, right, inside of desktop, and then all these subfolders. Now press enter, and we haven't got anything with customer. So let's try order, because I think we have order right here, and then press enter, and there we go. So you see that we have a bunch of results right here. So all of these contain order, right? But sometimes, you know, you want to be more selective. So let's actually go ahead and let me open up Sublime and then drop query.sql inside. And right here, let's simply say select star from customer. And right here, and that with semicolon. And then right here, let's go ahead and say simply select ID from customer, where, oh, actually no ID, but let's simply say name where ID equals to 2, something like that. And if I save this, close Sublime, and then put this full screen. Now let's go ahead and search. Now let's go ahead and simply say right here, so instead of order, let's simply say customer. There we go. You can see that we found two results, right? So you can see the line number here, so 4 and 54 right here. Now what we can do with grep is show the lines before and after around our results. So let's say that we want to you know, see the 3 lines above this result right here, right? And after this result as well, right? So what we can do is simply use the -b and -c options. So right here, let's simply go ahead and have the same query, but now I'm going to go back. Well, actually, let me go forward here, and here I'm going to say dash and then D and then A, and now we have to give it a number. So let's simply say 3. Enter. And now check this out. So now we are getting the actual result, right? But also we are getting 3 lines after right here. So let me change this to, let's say 1, for example, right? So 1, enter, or actually like this, so you can see everything. So there we go. So now you can see that we only have 1 line after. If you want 1 line before, simply say that dash and then N, capital N, and then 1. So if I press enter, let me clear this first, enter, and it's an error, and it's not actually N, sorry, my bad, it's actually B. So B, capital B. There we go, enter, and now you can see that we have 1 line before and 1 line after. So let me actually increase this. So instead of 1, I want to say let's say 4. enter, and now you can see that we have 4 lines before our result. So this is how to use grep. And as I said, so grep takes a regex, regular expression, and then actually we've used just folders, but we could also, so let's simply say order, right? So order, but we could actually use with files, right? So I forgot to show you. So right here, it's the same thing, right? It's either files or folders. So you will actually use grep quite a lot if you want to search for strings within your code, right? Sometimes you want to see where something is. You simply use grep because it's fast, right? And as I was saying, so grep takes a regex, right? And these can be really complex, but I've just showed you like a normal string, but they can be stuff really complex, such as, for example, you know, A and then Z, and then A and then through Z. But basically, I'm not teaching you, you know, regular expressions because it's a separate course on its own. But just bear in mind that you can use you know, regular expressions, and it's the name here. So global regular expressions print. If you have any questions on the grep command, go ahead and drop me a message. But as always, use man and then grep, and you can find everything about grep right here. So check this out. So print the lines leading. So right here, B, we've just used it, right? And you can even add the color right here and a bunch of other cool things. So this is all for grep. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, so let me actually go ahead and show you some other cool commands before we move to the last section, which is about Vim. So these commands are really helpful and useful, and they will save you times doing things. So the first one that I want to show you is history. So history. So if I press enter, you can see that this is giving me the history of all the commands that I ran, right? So if you forgot a command, for example, you can simply go back and see the list of all the commands that you've previously typed. Now, let's say that I want to execute this command right here. Now, you might be tempted to pretty much just grab this and then command C, command V. But what you can do is simply press exclamation mark and then the actual number, right? So let's simply say that we want to execute 844. Press enter, and there we go. You see that it simply grabbed whatever it's in my history and put it right away for me to use it. Now I can press enter, and there we go. So another command which is really helpful. So history is fine, so if you want to go back and see the commands, but for example, let's say that you want to find out the history, but you only want to find the history of the commands where you've actually used the grep keyword. So now you can go ahead and simply add this pipe right here, and what this pipe allows you to do is to execute another command. So the command that I want to use is simply grep, and then right here I'm going to say grep. So I want to find all the commands that include grep. Now if I press enter, you can see that now these are all the commands that I've used with grep in it. So this is really awesome. So you will find yourself using this pipe a lot with grep. So this pipe right here, so let me actually cancel out of this. So let's go ahead and simply say cat and then a query.sql. So enter. you can see that it simply cuts out the actual contents of the file, but we can also cat and then put a pipe in it. And now let's simply say grep and then ID, for example. So there we go. This is our search result. So this is really awesome. So another command that I want to show you, which is really helpful and useful, right? So you saw that I did cat and then I ran this command right here, right? So let's say that, for example, I want to say cat and then query copy.sql. And if I clear the screen, so let me go ahead and simply press enter. So you see that this again cuts out the file, right? But what I can do now is, let's say that I want to run a grep on the previous command. I want to run a grep on the previous command. Now, if you press exclamation twice, check this out. If I press enter, you can see that I get the previous command, right? So what this means now is, if I press Ctrl C there, I can do exclamation twice. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So let me actually clear the screen. Exclamation twice. And then if I add space, you can see that I do get the previous command, and then grep, and then let's simply say customer. Enter. And oops, so let's actually add a pipe in there, right? So if I clear this, add a pipe there, and then grep customer, enter, and you can see that we have two results. And you can see that these commands are really helpful and useful, right? And the final one that I want to show you is this one. So let's say that we have grep right here, and we've simply said rep, right? We've simply said rep, and now there's no command with rep, right? But let's say that you want to run the exact same command, but simply change this word rep to grep. Now, the way you do it is this. Check this out. You type the @ and then rep, right? So this is the word that you want to replace. So this is find and replace, and then the hat again, and now simply type grep, and now if I press enter, check this out. Now we have grep right here. So this is really useful, right? So if I press enter now, you can see that it works. So let me show you one more time. So let me simply say, for example, here, right? So we said cat with 2 T's. So if I press enter, you see that that doesn't work. Now the @ cat with 2 T's. I want to find that and then replace with cat. Enter, and you can see that it was replaced. So if I press enter, and you can see that it's working fine. So go ahead and play around with these commands, because myself, I use them every single day, and they are very useful and powerful, as you saw. So sometimes you might have to run commands in sudo. This means super user. So you might type a command, right? Some command. So command, right? And then you might need to run that as sudo. So what you do is simply say sudo and then question mark, right? So now if I press enter, you can see that I have sudo and then the previous command. And I almost forgot. So if I go ahead and clear the screen, so this command is one that I use actually quite a lot as well. So there are many, but this is one that I need to show you. So go ahead and press Ctrl and then R. So basically this allows you to search as you type. So let's say I want to search for grep, right? So you can see that I can type grep, and you can see these were the commands that I did type with grep. Now I can press Ctrl R, and you can see that it just keeps on going back on the search, right? So if I want to, for example, use this command, I simply press any arrow, and there we go. So now I can press enter, and you can see that this is how I can easily find commands, right? For example, usually instead of me, for example, type commands over and over again, I just simply search for them. So, and then I get the command instead of me typing it over and over again. So let me show you again. So if I press Control R, right? Now let's go ahead and simply type the cat. So let's simply say cat. And this was some commands that I was typing. But for example, you see that now I can simply, let's say, run this command again. So press enter, and there we go. So this is how you go back to your history and run commands that you've previously run. So this is really, really fast, and I use it all the time as well. So remember, Control R, and basically you can search whatever you have in your history. This is all for now. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, next, let's go ahead and learn how to use Vim. So I hope that you are enjoying this course so far, and now we're going to learn about this awesome text editor called Vim or VI. And the difference between VI and Vim is that Vim has more features, right? It's the improved version of Vim. So people usually are really scared when they open Vim for the very first time. They think that, you know, it's all black, there's no controls, everything has to be done through your keyboard. But don't worry, I want to make it super easy for you to understand how to create files, how to move around, how to edit, how to save, how to quit. So this is very important, and this is sometimes a lot of people don't know how to exit properly within Vim. But don't worry, I want to make sure that you understand exactly how to come out of it properly. So trust me, when you SSH into remote servers, right, you're not going to have these fancy text editors. You're not going to have them. All you're going to have is Vim. All you're going to have is Vim. So it's really important that you are comfortable working with Vim. And to be fair, it's not difficult. It's not difficult. Trust me. All right, so for this section, we're going to be using Vim to edit some files, but what I want to do is actually edit some real code. So let me go ahead and go to my GitHub, and right here you can see github.com/amigos code. Now you can navigate through all of these repositories, but basically these are repositories for all my courses that I teach on YouTube and on my website. So let's go ahead and, for example, click on JavaScript, and if you want to follow along in this section, go ahead and download the exact same files as I will download in a second. So now inside of JavaScript, go ahead and open up the app.js, or actually go ahead and open up the app folder, and inside you have examples. And let's go ahead and, for example, download. So let's open up classes, and then right here click on classes, and then click on raw. So right here I'm going to grab the actual link, Command C, and then go back to my terminal, and what I'm going to do is actually create a new folder. So make, and then dir, and then code examples, and then enter, cd into code examples, and right here let's use a command which you haven't used. So type curl. So curl, let me actually do a man and then curl, so you see what curl is. So basically curl is a tool that allows you to transfer data from or to servers, right? So basically, so right here you can perform HTTP requests, FTPs, files, so on and so forth, right? So let's go ahead and pretty much press Q here. And now I'm going to say curl and then -O to preserve the actual file name, and then paste the actual link right here. So go ahead and press enter, and you can see that it downloaded the file. Now if I press Ctrl L, and if I do less and then classes.js, enter, you can see that this is some JavaScript, right? I'm pressing space, and there we go. So this is actually some JavaScript code. Now let me press Q, and let me go back to my GitHub repo. And right here, let me go back and let's download another file. So let's go back and actually download something else. So right here, let's go into Spring Boot React Full Stack. And right here, open up source, and then main, go to demo, and then let's simply grab, for example, let's actually grab the class inside of student, and then grab this student.java. So click on raw, and then grab the link, go back to your terminal, and then curl dash and then O, paste the link, enter, and there we go. Now if I type ls, you can see that we have 2 files right here. So we can download more files as we go through, but for now I think these 2 files are enough. So there we go. We also learned how to use curl. So obviously curl, it's way more powerful than things that we've done. You can use it to perform HTTP requests. So if you've used like Postman to test your APIs, you can use also the command line, right? So if you have any questions on this, go ahead and drop me a message, but I'm going to leave a link where you can learn more about the curl command. I'm also going to leave the link for these 2 exact files so you follow along, right? So this is all for now. Catch me on the next one. All right, now that we are inside of code examples with 2 files, now let's go ahead and use the Vim text editor to learn how it works and some useful commands and how to navigate around, saving, search and replace, so on and so forth. Because I think the more you use it, the more you will enjoy for quick file editing. So as I said before, we have VI or Vim. So Vim is the actual improved version, and in most Linux operating systems you will find both, right? So I'm going to use Vim, and right here, so when you type Vim, you have to specify a file name. If you specify an existing file name, so if I was to say classes.js, this will open the existing file. But if I was to type test.js, for example, this will let us create a new file with some contents and then name it as test.js. So for now, let's go ahead and open up the classes.js. So I'm going to press enter. And what I'm going to do here is actually make this a bit smaller. Just like that, and then full screen again, and there we go. And basically this is Vim, guys. So when you land into Vim, you are in command mode. So Vim has modes, right? So in command mode you can type commands. So let's say, for example, you want to see the line numbers. I'm simply going to type colon and then set and then number. Now if I press enter, you can see that now we have numbers, right? So this sometimes can be really useful, right? Because with normal IDEs and text editors, you have the line numbers, and you can also get that with Vim. And we can also get some basic syntax with Vim as well. So currently right here, you see that this is some JavaScript, but you don't have any syntax highlighting. So to get syntax highlighting with Vim, and remember, currently we are in command mode. Simply type colon and then syntax and then on. Press enter and check it out, guys. So this is awesome. So now we have some basic syntax highlighting. So it's really, really cool. So hopefully I can convince you that Vim is awesome, right? For, simple text editing. Now I have a question for you. How would you quit out of Vim? If you are a total beginner, how do you quit from Vim? So this is useful when people get frustrated because they don't know how to exit, right? Because here you just have to use your keyboard and nothing else. So to exit out of Vim, simply go ahead and press colon. So remember, this is command mode. So press colon and then Q. Q for quit and an exclamation mark. Now if I press enter, you can see that I'm outside of Vim. So there you go. You've successfully opened, you've configured Vim a little bit, and then you've quit out of Vim. So always remember how to quit, because this is something that you're going to do quite a lot. But I'm going to show you exactly how to save and quit properly. But this was just an introduction about Vim. Next, let's go ahead and learn how to navigate around with Vim. Alright, so let's go back to classes.js using Vim. So classes.js. And right here, you see that we've lost the syntax highlighting and the numbers. And later, I'm going to show you exactly how you can configure Vim so that when it starts, it remembers the actual configuration. But for now, let me go ahead and simply type colon and then syntax and then on, because I think it will be easier for you to see. And also let me go ahead and add the number. So set and then number. Let's go ahead now and learn how to navigate around with Vim. So there are a couple of ways to navigate with Vim. But if you want to navigate using the arrows, so left, down, up, and right, don't use the actual arrows of your keyboard. Instead, you should be using the letters H, J, K, and L. Let me show you. So if I press J, and the way I remember this is J means go down, right? So J goes down. And then K goes up. So you can see my cursor down there. So it's moving. I'm just pressing J and now I'm pressing K. Now, if you want to move to the right, you have to press L. So L moves to the right and then H moves to the left. So H left, J down, K up, and then L to the right. So another way that you can move is by using the letters B and W. So W means word. So I'm going to press W. There we go. You can see that I'm moving word by word, right? Word by word. And if I press B, B means the previous word. So I'm going to press B and there we go. You can see that I'm moving to the previous word. So this is also really useful. So I'm going to press word, so W. So you can see that it's moving word by word, and then B goes back, right? So currently I'm at line 4. So how do you go to the beginning of the line? So the way you go to the beginning of any line is by pressing 0. Press 0. And that goes to the beginning of your line. And if you want to go to the end of the line, simply press the $sign. There we go. And now I'm at the end of the line. So remember, currently we are in command mode and we are just navigating around. So I'm going to press again 0, goes to the beginning of the line, and then if I press $, it goes to the end of the line. Now let me press J and go down, and right here, so line 9, so line 9, oops, right here. So if I press 0, you can see that I go to the beginning of the line. If I press $, I go to the end. But let's say that I want to go to the start of the line after the white space, right? So you can see that I've got some white space right here. So right here, I've got some white space, but I want to go to the beginning of the line after the white space. So I'm going to press the hat sign. So I'm going to press the hat sign. So on my keyboard is the letter 6. I'm going to press shift and then the hat sign. And there we go. So you can see that now I don't go to the beginning of the line, but instead I go to the beginning of the line after the spaces. So there we go. Now I can go ahead and press again $, and end of the line, 0 to the beginning, and then the hat sign goes to the beginning of the line after the white spaces. Now if you want to go to the first line, right, line number 1, simply press G 2 times, G, G, and you can see that I'm at the very top, so line number 1. If you want to go to the end of the line, simply press capital G, and there we go. I'm at the end of the document. I'm going to press G, G, beginning, and then capital G goes to the end. If I want to go up and down, sentence by sentence, I can go ahead and press shift and then square brackets. So the left square brackets goes up and then the right square brackets goes down. So right here, I'm going to press shift and then the right square bracket, and you can see that I'm moving sentence by sentence like that. There we go. Right, so right to the top. Now if I want to go down, I simply press the right square bracket, and there we go. So these are some of the ways that you can navigate around. So the final thing that I want to show you when it comes to navigate is, for example, how do you go to a specific line number? So right here, you can see that I've got this line right here. So line 8, right? So the way that you're going to navigate to a specific line is simply pressing the actual line number. So let's say I'm going to press 8 and then press G, G. And you can see that it goes to the line that I've specified. Let's go, I want to go to the line 24. So I'm going to press 2, 4 and then G, G. And you can see that right here, I'm in line 24. Line 13, 1, 3, and then G, G. And there we go. So this is how you navigate around using Vim. Now, let me go ahead and quit out of this. So I'm going to press column, right? Column. And if you want to get into command mode, so if you are in any other mode and you want to get in and you want to get back into command mode, simply press escape. So let me actually delete that. And I'm going to press I. We haven't learned the insert mode, but go ahead and press I, right? So this is insert mode. And if I want to go back to command mode, I'm going to press escape. And now I'm back into command mode. So I'm going to press column and then Q and then exclamation mark and then quit. Now, the final thing that I want to show you with navigating around is, let's say you want to open classes.js, but you want to jump right into a line number. Simply say vim and then plus and then the actual line. So let's go ahead and simply say line 20 and then classes.js. If I press enter, and there we go. So if I now pretty much just set and then number. So I can simply say set and then NU. You can see that I'm right within line 20. So there we go. This is how you navigate around with Vim. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, let's go ahead and learn about the insert mode. So currently you've just saw how to navigate around and set the numbers and the syntax, but how do we actually make some changes right here? So currently I'm inside of classes.js, and what I want to do now is go to the very top, so to line 1, beginning of file. So I'm going to press GG. So insert mode allows us to edit the actual file. So insert, random text. So to enter insert mode, go ahead and press I, and you can see that now you are in insert mode, which means that I can type anything, right? I can press enter, type, and you can see that I'm actually typing. Now, if I want to go back to command mode, I'm going to press escape. And now check this out. If I type, or I've actually pressed I accidentally, that's why I did type. But if I type anything, so let's say I type H, for example, you can see that this doesn't type, right? Because these are some of the letters that allows us to, so for example, J, it allows us to navigate around. So this is the command mode. Now, you see that I do have some gibberish on line 1, 2, and 3. So how do I undo? So to undo, simply type U, and you can see that it's undoing my changes. So I'm going to press U again, and there we go. So they are all gone. If you want to redo, simply press Ctrl and then R, and you can see that it's actually redoing. So U for undo, and then Ctrl R for redo. There we go. Now I'm going to undo everything. So I'm going to press U a couple of times, and now I'm going to press I. So you see that I allows me to insert. So let me actually add a comment here, for example, another, and then comment, and then right here I'm going to press escape. And you can see that I'm back into command mode. Now let me go to the beginning of the line right here, and insert mode simply allows you to add text where the cursor is. So I'm going to press I, and now I can type. You see that it types before the /, right? So let me actually press escape and then U to undo, and there we go. So you can insert where the cursor is, or you can append. So append means, so I'm going to press A for append, and now it allows me to append after the /. So now it means that I can simply type anything, right? There we go. So if I escape and then undo, let me show you that again. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the line. I'm going to press 0, and I'm going to press A again. So check this out. Well, actually, let me press L right here, and check this out. I'm going to press A, so which means that I'm going to insert after the character A. There we go. And then I can say N. There we go. Now I'm going to press escape and then go back. So I'm going to press B, and if I press I, you can see that if I type A, it goes before, right? So that's the difference. Now I'm going to press escape again, and let's say that you want to insert text after the current line. Simply press O, and you can see that you are straight into insert mode after the current line. So let me simply say hello, how are you? This is not some JavaScript, but you get the point. Now I'm going to press escape again. How do you insert before the previous line? How do you insert before the current line? Simply press shift and then O. So basically capital O. And now you can see that I'm inserting before the current line. So right here, I can simply type some stuff, right? So this is gibberish actually. Now if I press escape, and the final way that you will insert most of the times is appending to the end. So let me go ahead and press J, and then I'm going to press 0 to go to the beginning of the line. And let's say that you want to append, and let's say that you want to insert some text after the word you. So simply press Shift and then A. And you can see that it goes straight to the end. And now I can simply add a question mark. There we go. So this is not some JavaScript again. So this is just to give you some examples. Now I can, keep on inserting. And if I want to go back to command mode, I simply press escape, and there we go. Now, if I was to quit this, so again, column and then Q and then exclamation mark. And if I go ahead and press enter, now if I go ahead and simply open up the classes.js and then enter, you can see that my changes were lost, right? Because I didn't save anything. So let's go ahead and quickly learn about how to save. So let me go ahead and simply append after the current line. So I'm going to press O, and right here, let me simply add another comment, and then end that like that. I'm going to press escape. Now to save the current file, simply make sure that you go back to command mode. I'm going to press now column and then W. W means write. So I'm going to press enter, and you can see that it says 1518C written, right? So I think those are the characters. So now if I was to press column and then Q and then exclamation mark, you see that I've quit my editor. If I go back, you can see that now I do have my comment right there. Now, if I was to go down, if I press Shift and then A, I want to append right there. Oh, actually, let me go back. So here, so let me simply say comment. Oh, actually, let me press escape and then B to go back, and then I random comment. Now, if I want to save and quit at the same time, I'm going to press escape and then column and then WQ. WQ means write and then quit. I'm going to press enter, and you can see that it quit Vim. If I go back again, you can see that we still have our comment. So there we go. This is all about the insert mode and how you go about saving your changes. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message, but otherwise, let's move on. All right, let's go ahead and actually switch files. So let me press column and then Q and then exclamation mark. And right here, let's go ahead and say Vim and then student.java. I'm going to press enter. And right here, let's go ahead and simply say column and then set and then NU for numbers. And let's also set syntax and then on. There we go. So what I want to teach you here is how you're going to go ahead and delete within Vim. So the way you delete is as follows. So let's say that you want to delete the word package, right? You want to delete the word package. So what I'm going to do is press D. So D means I'm going to delete something. And what I want to delete is words. I want to press W. And you can see that I've deleted the word package. Now I can carry on doing this. I want to press D again and then W for word. So if you want to delete the entire line, is as follows. Press D and then press D again. So D 2 times. There we go. I'm gonna delete that current line as well. D, D, and there we go. Let me actually delete this one as well. D, D, and you can see that it's gone. If you want to delete 3 lines, simply say 3, or actually 4. So let's delete all of these lines, right? So simply press the number that you want to delete. So in my case, 4, and then D, and then D. And I actually should have been 5, but you get the point. So if I undo this and I press 5 and then D, D, and you can see that I've deleted all of those 5 lines. If you want to delete everything, guess what? Press D, and then how do you go to the end of the file? Remember, capital G. And you can see that I've deleted everything. So let me actually undo, and let me actually undo everything. So there we go. Now, so let's say that I want to cut and paste. How do you do it? So it's actually very easy. So DD, what it does, it actually cuts it, right? And then you can do anything with it. So I'm going to press DD. So right here, you think that the line is gone, but it's actually available for us to use. So I'm going to press J. So I'm going to go down right here. And what I'm going to do is simply press P. P for paste. I'm going to press P. And you can see that I've just pasted that line. So to show you, so if I press J, and then I'm going to press DD right here. And let me go to the beginning of the file. So GG. And then I'm going to press P, because what I did cut is still available in my buffer. So I'm going to press P, and you can see that I do have public class student there. So there we go. So this is how you go about deleting and cutting and pasting lines. So another thing that I forgot is how do you delete to the beginning of the word. So let's say that I'm actually here and I want to delete to the beginning of the word. Simply type D and then B. So let me show you that again. I'm going to undo, right? So I'm going to simply press D and then go to the beginning of the line, which is 0. And there we go. So you can see that I've removed the public class. So the same way, if you want to delete to the end of the line, I'm going to press D and then guess what? $, and it's gone. So let me actually undo it. So I've just pressed U and I want to press U again, and there we go. So hopefully this is everything that you need in order to cut, delete lines in words. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. Let me go ahead and show you how you are going to exit properly with Vim. So this can be sometimes frustrating to beginners, but hopefully I'm going to make this really clear and easy for you to understand. So to exit, you need to be in command mode. So always make sure that if you are about to exit, you press the escape key. So for example, if I press I, now I'm inside of insert mode, right? So I can type anything just like that. But if you were about to exit, make sure that you press escape, right? This is the first thing that you need to do, press escape. Now, what I'm going to do first is actually undo. So I'm going to undo that. And the way that you exit is as follows. So this means, so if I press colon, Q, and then exclamation mark, so this means close the file and abandon changes, right? So if I do that, so let me actually open it again. And let's say that I insert something here. So let's say hello. This is like some gibberish, right? And if I press escape and then colon and then Q and exclamation mark, So this means close the file and abandon changes. There we go. If I open up the file again, you can see that the changes aren't there. So if I press O, and then let's simply type hello, and then right here I'm going to press escape. Now if you want to exit at the same time saving, press column and then WQ. Oh, actually, sorry, WQ, just like that. So this means save and close the file. Press enter. And if I open up the file again with Vim, you can see that I do have the word hello there. Now, obviously, let me delete that line. So DD, there we go. And that's gone. Now, let's say that I made a change. So I've deleted the line and I simply want to save, but still be in Vim mode, right? So the way you do it is make sure again, you press escape, and then I'm going to press column and then W. So if I press enter, you can see that my changes have been written and I can still edit whatever. I can still edit my file, right? So if I was to delete this, and then if I want to save, column W, save, and I can still keep going. But obviously, let me undo that line because it might be important on that scenario. What I'm going to do again, escape, column W, and there we go. Now, if I want to quit, simply press column Q. So Q right here, I'm going to press Q, and then I'm out because I've saved my changes, right? And I had nothing to be abandoned. So there we go. This is how you are going to saving and quitting out of Vim. If you have any questions, drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, let's go ahead and learn about search and replace with Vim. So let me go ahead and open up the student.java again. And I'm going to set the numbers as well as the syntax and then on. Now, the way that you are going to search with Vim is first you need to be in command mode. So again, make sure to press escape just in case. Now go ahead and press / and then type the word that you want to search. So in my case, let's go ahead and simply say final and then press enter. And you can see that it took me to the first result that it found. Now, if you want to navigate to the second or next result, simply press N for next. So I'm going to press N, and you can see that it's taking me to the next result. Again, I'm going to press N, 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 and there we go. So it simply went back to the top. If you want to go back to the previous result found, simply press Shift and then N. So basically capital N. I'm going to press capital N, or actually Shift N, and there we go. So N, it goes forward, and then Shift N, it goes back, right? So again, let's go ahead and try and search for the word UID. So UUID, and then press enter. There we go. I'm going to press N for next. You can see that it's taking me to the next found result. And again, and again, and it's taking me back to the top. N, Shift N goes back. N, N, and then Shift N goes back. Now, how do you go about and finding and then replace, or actually search and replace, right? So the way you search and replace is as follows. So go ahead and simply say / and let's say that we want to change UID to integer. So the way you do it is simply by typing / and then % and then S and then / And the first string is what you want to search for, right? So uid. And then the second one is what you want to replace with. So in our case, integer, and then /, and then here simply say G for global. So we want to perform this operation in the entire file. And also let's go ahead and press C. So C means whether we should confirm this change or not. Now if I press enter, and pattern not found, so I think if I press I think I should have actually pressed column instead of /. So let's go ahead and do it again. So I'm going to press escape and then /. So before I did press /, that's why we got the error. So let me actually delete that and say column and then %s /uid / integer / g and then c. If I press enter, and there we go, you can see that I get this prompt right here. So replace with integer. I can simply say yes or no, right? So right here, let me simply say no. And right here, let me simply say yes. So I've just pressed N before. I'm going to press yes, or actually Y. I'm going to press Y again, and there we go, right? So you can see that it did substitute 3 lines. Now let me actually undo this. So there we go. I've undone everything. Now let me actually type the same thing. So I'm going to say column %s / and then uid / and then integer and / and then g. Now I'm not going to type C, right? I'm not going to execute that with C. So this is when you are actually absolutely sure that you want to search and replace. So let's go ahead and simply press enter, and you can see that now it did substitute 4 lines. So previously we rejected 1 substitution, but now it just went ahead and substituted all the lines. So if I press GG to go to the top, and right here it did replace this line right here, but I know that this is in the wrong package right here, so this is incorrect, right? So this is why sometimes you might want to have C in there. So this is how you search and replace with Vim. If you have any questions, drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on. All right, let me go ahead and show you how to create new files with Vim. So let me go ahead and simply press escape and then column and then Q, and then I want to ignore any changes, and there you go, I'm out. Now to create a new file, simply go ahead and simply say Vim and now give it a name. So the name I'm going to give it is, let's simply say config dot and then JS, right? Now if I press enter, you can see that I've got a blank file. So now you can press I to insert. So let's simply say export and then config equals to and then 20, or an object, for example, right? And basically this is how you pretty much then add some code, and you've learned how to escape, save, and move around and all the good stuff, right? So now if I press escape, and then what I'm going to do is actually press WQ. So I want to write and quit. There we go. Now if I do an ls, you can see that we have config.js. Now if I do a vi and then config.js, you can see that my changes are still there. So if I was to go ahead and simply say export and then default equals to an object as well, I can go ahead and press escape and then WQ, and if I now do a cat config, you can see that these are the contents. So this is how you go about creating files with Vim. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. Otherwise, let's go ahead and learn how we're going to configure Vim. Alright, so you saw that if I open up the, let's say, student.java, and you saw that each time that we open a file, we add to say set and then number and then syntax and then on, right? Every single time. So if I quit out of this, and then if I type vi student again, you can see that we lost our configuration. Now, the way that you go about creating the configuration file for Vim is as follows. So let me simply quit out of this and go ahead and simply cd into your root folder. So pwd amigos code, and remember, so ls and then -al. So right here you see that we have the .zshrc. So this is the configuration for ZSH, but we can also have the same for Vim. And if you were to guess the name, what do you think the name would be? vimrc. So currently we don't have any vimrc, so let's go ahead and do it. And I think we have something for bash, actually nothing. So let's go ahead and simply clear the screen and simply now say what? vi, right? So we're going to create a new file, and you see that this is now where you start to use Vim, because you need a file with some text in it. So vi and then dot and then vimrc. Now let's go ahead and simply type I for insert mode, column, and then set and then number. Let's also go ahead and simply say column and then syntax and then on. Now I'm going to press escape, and then I'm going to press column WQ to save and quit. And let me press CD and then dash, so it goes back to the previous folder that I was. So this is actually, we are using all the skills that we've been learning throughout this course, right? So I'm going to press enter. You can see that I'm inside of examples. Now if I go ahead and press VI and then I think it was student.java and then press enter, and you can see that we don't have to configure Vim. So it's already configured every time we open Vim. The same way, if I quit, so escape and then Q, and let's open up the JavaScript file, so vi and classes.js, and you can see that we have the line numbers as well as the syntax. So if you want to learn more on how to configure your Vim and make it really nice, go ahead and navigate to this GitHub repo, where I'm going to leave the link in the description of this video so you can follow along. But basically this repo is the ultimate Vim configuration. So it gives you a bunch of stuff and it makes your Vim look really, really awesome, right? So you can see some screenshots, and basically there's lots of plugins, and it's just amazing, right? So it has support for different languages, and yeah, so just give it a try and see how you can customize Vim the way you most like it. So this is all for this section, and you should really be trying and use Vim to create files, right? I'm not saying that you should be writing, for example, Java with Vim, because that's not, it's feasible, but it's not the best way, right? So with Java, for example, you want to be productive. But for example, Python, Go, Bash, right? Some Bash scripts, you should be trying and using Vim, because with time you will master it, and eventually, who knows, it might be your favorite text editor. This is all for this section. Next, let's go ahead and wrap up this course. Okie dokie, I hope that you had fun with Vim. So it's not difficult, and I'm going to give you lots of cheat sheets on Vim so that you learn about more commands, right? So we've just scratched the surface here, and the best thing for you to do really is to practice, right? Practice, 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 and eventually you will become faster and faster and faster, right? So Vim is really powerful. I know one guy, the only thing that he uses is just Vim. He doesn't like Iterm, he doesn't like VS Code for example, Python development, Go development, Bash scripting. All he uses is just Vim, and he has customized it in a way that he's got fancy color themes. He's got all the tabs as well open, all the tree of all the files, so you can customize it really the way you want it, right? And you know, trust me, once you learn how to work really fast with it, go back and then save, go down and delete the line, and then insert, and all of these things, you will be so productive, right? Don't take Vim for granted. Please do not take Vim for granted. So this is all I wanted to say. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me a message. But next, let's go ahead and wrap up this course. All right, so I want to congratulate you for sticking around with me and learning about Vim, Bash, Terminal, and now, right now, you are ready. You are ready to go and explore even further, right? So here we've just scratched the surface, and this will give you, you know, a good foundation of working with your terminal. So now you can go off and learn, for example, Git, right? You can learn Git. So Git, it's all about on the terminal, right? Writing Git commands to push your code to some repository, right? So now you'll be very comfortable. Also, I'm planning doing a course on Git. So go ahead and check my website for more information. So if you haven't joined the private Facebook group, go ahead and join, because that way you can keep in touch and you know, you can just engage, right? So I want to build this community of awesome developers, and you should be part of it. This is all for now. If you have any questions or suggestions of courses that you want to see next, please do let me know. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe right now, and also like this course so that the YouTube algorithm ranks up my channel. This is all for now, and I'll catch you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum.